Thank you, Deepak. And once again, I would also request everyone to, put their cameras on switch off mode and mute themselves so that, we have an smooth session where, everyone can hear it and there would not be much of disturbance. We'll take the entire session and then we'll have a short Q&A session. And if the questions, we'll give you our contact coordinate details also, where if anything further on also, if you want to ask, you can go on and ask us on those coordinates. So let's directly dive into the session. And what this session will cover would be basic concepts of derivatives, that is futures and options, basic strategies which can be used for daily derivative. Yeah, am I audible now, Deepak?
Yes, Miraj.
Okay. So the session will cover basic concepts of derivatives, that is basic concepts of futures and options. Then we'll have basic derivative strategies which you can use in your regular trading concepts and in your trading day-to-day tradings also. And it will also give you some trends which can or data points which can help you understand the direction for the market or some trend indicators. So first we'll start with basic concepts of derivatives. Now, first and foremost thing is, to know what are options. Since we all, since we all, might be, well averse with options or futures and options, but there might be certain participants who would be entirely new to derivatives or futures or options. They might be only cash investors. So for that reason, I would be taking it from the basics to the higher level also. So for those who already know this, it would be a little bit of an revision or a brush up for you. So basically options are nothing but, are contracts which are issued to the participant stating that they can buy or sell a particular share for a particular price within a stipulated time. As an investors, we all know when we invest into stocks or when we buy equities, we get an ownership of that company. Options is nothing but a contract, if executed or if exercised, will give you that right to buy or sell that stocks. Until unless it is not exercised or executed, it stays as a contract. So that is a basic difference between options and equities. Now in this, as I told you, when you execute or exercise a contract, what you get is a right to buy or right to sell that shares. So for example, just for simplicity, if the contract was, it will give you a right to buy the shares, say 100 shares. So then when you execute the contract, you will get Deepak ji, few participants have raised their hands. I don't know what it is. If it is done by mistake, please, if you can lower your hands.
No, actually, they are not able to hear you properly.
Are they able to hear now?
Yes, it's a bit better.
Okay. Deepak ji, is the audio more clear now?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically what I was telling that, equity options are nothing but contracts which are given. And once we exercise or execute those contracts, then we receive a right. The right can be either right to buy the shares or right to sell those shares. So say example, you have entered into a buy call contract. Okay, or you have bought a call contract. And for simplicity, we'll take 100 shares as in base. It can vary depending upon the lot size, but just for simplicity of understanding, we'll keep it as a standard 100 shares. So if I exercise a call contract, it will give me a right to buy those 100 shares at a particular price which I had entered into the contract. And for the particular time period where the contract is, during that period, I can buy those 100 shares. And similarly, if I would have bought a put contract, it would give me a right to sell those shares. For our example, we'll take sell 100 shares. So these options and these contracts are standardized by the exchange. And in equity markets, we only have standardized options. We don't have any over-the-counter or OTC options which can be customized. Majorly, the OTC contracts are only done in the bond markets. Okay, now an equity put option. Say I'm taking put option first because that is the one which is a little bit trickier to understand. An equity call option is simple. If you exercise that call option, it will give you a right to buy that 100 shares. But an equity put option, on the other hand, conveys you the right to sell those 100 shares. So when you are exercising a put option, it will give you the right to sell those shares at a price which you have defined in your contract, and the time period for that contract is valid. So that is one difference which we need to, take into mind. It is a little bit different than the normal concepts which we have, or the concept which we are used to, that if you are buying something, that means you are literally getting a right to buy those shares. But when you're buying a put, it gives you a right to sell those shares. Now, there are buyers also, so there has to be a seller also. So till now we have understood the concept of how to buy a contract. Now, there would be a counterparty to it who would be selling the contract. Now, to make this thing a little bit much easier, or, to give a concept which we are much familiarized with, consider it that, you are an insurance policy holder. So you are buying an insurance and an insurance company is the seller. Okay. So there is an insurance company who is selling you an insurance. So you buy a medical insurance for say 1 year. Okay. And there you have a cover that if any medical emergency comes to me, they'll cover me. For example, we say 1 lakh rupee. Okay. So there is a cover for 1 lakh. Deepak ji, many people are telling that to do it in Hindi. So should I do it in Hindi only?
Miraj, we have participants from Pan India. So what I would suggest that let's continue in English only. In between, you can explain somewhat portion in Hindi also, because otherwise,
okay. What I'll do is some important concepts. I'll do it in bilingual, which will be a mix of English and Hindi, so that all the participants are comfortable with it.
Correct.
Yeah. So options basically, if you understand that it is more like an insurance which you are taking, say for an insurance policy, agar aapne liya hai, so that insurance policy mein you would be the buyer of the insurance and the insurance company is the seller. So in that, the insurance seller will have a an unlimited obligation to give you a particular amount of your claims whenever you exercise your claim. So say for example, अगर आपको कोई मेडिकल इमरजेंसी आती है उस समय के बीच में, तो आप बोलते हो कि ये पैसा जो मेरा मेडिकल का खर्चा हुआ है वो इंश्योरेंस कंपनी देगी. So that way insurance company has a liability to pay whenever you ask for. But if during the year you don't ask, or if there is no any medical emergency, your premium which you had paid to the insurance company goes to the insurance company, and then there is no liability for the insurance company to pay beyond the policy expires. So यही similar concept अगर आप options में लगाओगे, तो you as a policy holder would be an option buyer and the insurance company will be the option seller. So whenever a buyer says, I want to exercise my right, or I want to exercise the contract, the seller has an obligation to fulfill it. Okay, so that way the seller has a higher risk, while as a buyer has a lower risk. Generally, your premium for 1 lakh of insurance would be around say 5,000 or 6,000 rupees, or at max 10,000 rupees. But while the risk for the insurance company would be around a 1 lakh rupee. Okay, so this is similar to what we have done in options. So I guess we'll go more into detail, which will give you much clarification. But whenever you are thinking of an option writer, always relate to this example, so that will be a little bit more clear for you. Now, why we need standardizations of options? there are a number of contracts which are getting traded throughout the day, throughout the exchange. So until unless there is not a standardization done, it would be difficult to honor the contracts, and then there would be a lot of litigations. That is the reason in equity markets, it is always standardized contracts. Now, why there is non-standardized contracts in other markets? Because those are mostly on one-to-one basis and not on the open exchange floor. Okay. I would request participants, not to put the questions in the chat box, because, that actually breaks the flow. Because I get a pop-up when there is a thing in the chat. We'll have a Q&A session where we can, clear all the doubts later on. I will be going slowly through these concepts so that, you don't miss. The people who are new to these concepts also would not miss it. So don't worry on those part. And I'll try to make it bilingual where, both, those who are not much comfortable in Hindi and those who are not much comfortable in English, both will be able to understand it. Okay. So now why standardization is required? अगर समझो कि मार्केट्स में स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन नहीं होगी, तो अगर आप देखोगे तो दिन में काफी सारे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स ऑप्शन में ट्रेड होते हैं, और अगर स्टैंडर्ड फॉर्मेट नहीं होगी तो जब सेटलमेंट होगा तब बहुत सारी इश्यूज आते हैं, और इक्विटी मार्केट में इसीलिए स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन रखे जाते हैं. अगर आप देखोगे तो ओटीसी मार्केट में स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन नहीं होते हैं, क्योंकि वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होते हैं वो बिटवीन टू पार्टीज होती है, वहां पे कोई भी एक्सचेंज गारंटी नहीं होती है सेटलमेंट की. तो एक एक्सचेंज गारंटी देने के लिए स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन किए गए हैं. क्या क्या चीजों में स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन किए गए हैं? ऑप्शन की टाइप में स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन है. सो यू विल ओनली हैव टू टाइप ऑफ ऑप्शन, इट इज अ कॉल ऑप्शन और अ पुट ऑप्शन. Then we have a standardization in option style also. Either it will be an American style option or European style option. And to further simplify for our Indian investors, what the exchanges and SEBI have done, that we only have one type of option available, which is the European type of option. The only difference between the American and the European option is that in the American option, the contract can be exercised anytime during the contract period, and the European option can only be exercised at the end of the expiry. So दो तरह के जो ऑप्शंस है उसमें यूरोपियन ऑप्शन जो है वही हमारे इंडियन मार्केट्स में रहता है, जिसमें आपको एक्सरसाइज करना होगा वो सिर्फ एक्सपायरी के दिन पे या तो एक्सपायरी पे ही एक्सरसाइज कर सकते हो. अंडरलाइनिंग जो स्टॉक है वो फिक्स होगा. अगर आप निफ्टी का ऑप्शन लेते हैं तो अंडरलाइनिंग निफ्टी होगी. आप रिलायंस का ऑप्शन लेंगे तो अंडरलाइनिंग रिलायंस होगा. ठीक है. स्ट्राइक प्राइसेस स्टैंडर्डाइज की गई है. So strike prices will be at an interval of either 2.5, 5, 10, 50 or 25, depending upon the value of the stock. तो इसके चलते हुए एक्सरसाइज प्राइसेस भी आपको पता है कि स्ट्राइक प्राइस भी स्टैंडर्ड होगी, इतने ही इंटरवल्स पे स्ट्राइक प्राइस मिलेगी. इन बिटवीन आप नहीं ले सकते हो. अगर 5 के इंटरवल्स में स्ट्राइक प्राइसेस है तो आप 5 के इंटरवल मतलब 5 की स्ट्राइक प्राइस, 10 की, 15 की, आपको 7 या 8 रुपए की स्ट्राइक प्राइसेस नहीं मिल सकती. एक्सपायरी डेट स्टैंडर्डाइज की गई है दोनों ही इंडेक्सेस के लिए, निफ्टी और बैंक निफ्टी के लिए. एवरी थर्सडे ऑफ द वीक, हर गुरुवार को एक्सपायरी होती है हफ्ते की, और जो स्टॉक्स है उसके लिए मंथ का जो लास्ट थर्सडे होगा उस पे एक्सपायरी होगी. तो इन हर एक को हम लोग थोड़ी डिटेल में एग्जामिन करते हैं. सो ऑप्शन टाइप, जैसे मैंने कहा कॉल ऑप्शन और पुट ऑप्शन. अब कॉल ऑप्शन क्या है? अगर आप कॉल ऑप्शन खरीदते हो तो इसका ये मतलब है कि आपको एक कॉल ऑप्शन खरीदने से आपको ये राइट मिलती है कि आप उस स्टॉक को एक्सपायरी के दिन पे परचेज कर सकते हो, और परचेज करने के लिए आपको प्री डिफाइंड रेट मिलता है जो आपकी स्ट्राइक प्राइस होगी, और प्री डिफाइंड टाइम है जो हमने समझा कि अगर स्टॉक है तो लास्ट थर्सडे उस महीने का होगा. सिमिलरली अगर आप पुट ऑप्शन खरीदते हो तो आपको राइट मिलती है कि आप उस शेयर को बेच सकते हो. आप बेच सकते हो जो प्री डिटरमाइंड प्राइस होगी. द स्ट्राइक प्राइस विल बी योर प्री डिटरमाइंड प्राइस, द क्वांटिटी विल बी द लॉट साइज, एंड टाइम एज वी अंडरस्टूड वुड बी द लास्ट थर्सडे ऑफ द मंथ. और ये दोनों ही ऑप्शंस यूरोपियन स्टाइल के होंगे. सो दैट इज द रीजन इट वुड बी ऑलवेज एक्सरसाइज्ड एट द लास्ट डे ऑफ द मंथ. I guess Nikhil and Murthy, you have raised your hand. So is there any issue? Please unmute it or type it in the chat box. Nikhil,
I request all the participants to kindly lower your hands. We will be taking question and answer session in the end.
Nikhil, I'll be coming at obligations for seller of call and put option also. Just be a little patient. Yeah, I'll be coming through. Let me just go through, because if I keep on breaking the flow, it would be difficult for others also to understand it. We are still at what are the nuances for the buyer of the option. Yeah. So, and equity put option, it will convey you the right to sell a specified quantity of underlying stock at a price which is fixed, which is the strike price, and for the amount there or predetermined time, which is till the last day of the month that contract is valid, last Thursday of the month, and it can be exercised only at the last day, that is the Thursday of the month. Okay, so this was the major thing for a buyer. So for buyer, the major risk is what? The amount of premium he has paid is the amount of risk for the buyer. Now the risk for sellers would change. That will go on a little bit later on. First, let's understand all the concepts of options. Now, option style. Since I've told you that we don't have an American option style, the simple option style of a European option is still there in our markets, which states that you can exercise your right only on the expiry day, or on the expiry only you can exercise your right. Before that, if you want to close your contract, you have to take an offsetting contract into the markets. Say, for example, if you have bought a call option for Reliance, say, for example, you bought a call option of 1900 of Reliance at the start of this month, and then now Reliance has moved up to 2100, and you want to exercise your option. You cannot exercise the option. You need to sell that option in the market at the prevailing price in the market. Pricing also will come to it, how the pricings are determined. So that is the thing for European options, that you can only exercise at the time of expiry and not before that. While American option gives that flexibility, but since our option markets are not that developed, we have not yet introduced the American option style. Now, underlying security, as I've already explained you, that if you're buying an option for Reliance, the underlying security will be the Reliance stock. And the movement of that option will depend on the movement of Reliance ka stock or Nifty ka stock. Once again, let me just clarify. I would be using Reliance and Nifty a lot in the examples, but it is just for illustration purposes. Now, strike price. Say the example earlier we had taken, if I had bought a call of Reliance 1900 call, the strike price would be 1900. That means if I'm buying a call, it gives me the right to buy Reliance at 1900. Even if the price at the end of the expiry may be 2500 or 3000, I get a right to buy that stock at 1900. Even if the price is at 1500 or even at 1000, I have a right only to buy at 1900. So then it would be on me if I want to exercise that right or not. Okay. Now, depending on the strike price you choose, it becomes, there are three nuances or three terminologies for strike price, which is in the money option, at the money option, and out of the money option. Say again, if you would have bought Reliance at 1900, say at the start of the expiry, or say just at the last Thursday of the month, where Reliance was quoting at around 1900, your strike price would have been at the money. But since in next 3 days, Reliance did move significantly up and went to 2200, then your strike price from at the money has become in the money. The reason being that you are getting to buy that stock at a cheaper rate than what is the current rate in the market. Okay, say for example, Reliance would have not gone up and it would have crashed, and it would have come to say 1500. That means your strike would have gone out of the money, because currently you are buying, your strike price would be the buying price, which is higher than the current market price. So that means you are out of the money, or you are in losses. So your in the money strikes, whenever your strike gets in the money, that means it at initiation, it would be at a particular profit. And when your strike is out of the money at the initiation, it would be at a disadvantage, or it would be at a loss. But the premiums which are quoted would, nullify that advantage to the seller. And that would give that much of advantage to the buyer, so that when the positions are entered, it will be at a no profit or no loss. We'll come to that on the pricing part. So just don't get confused on that part. Just understand, if your current strike price is above the current market price, that is, if my strike price is 1900 and the current market price is 2200, my strike price is in the money. So your strike price has to be lower than current price for calls to be in the money, and your strike price, if it is higher than current market price, it is out of the money. This is for call options. Now for put options, since the put has a right to sell, it will completely change and it will become opposite. So whichever strike is in the money for call will be out of the money for puts, and whichever strikes are out of the money for calls will become in the money for puts. Okay. Now the other thing is that, once you are familiar with the terminologies, we'll look at, ramifications of purchasing or writing the calls or puts, and how are the risks and how are the rewards for both. Okay. Yeah. So let's take on buying a call option. Okay. Here we are for example, we are taking one lot is 100 shares. If I'm buying a underlying stock would be XYZ Corporation at 60 rupees, which is your strike price, and your expiry would be last Thursday of the month. If I'm buying and say, for example, my premium is say 2 rupees, then whatever the initial risk for the call buying would be 2 rupees. So the maximum loss for that call buyer would be 2 rupees. Okay. And his profit can be theoretically unlimited from 60. Say, if example, the share can rise to 600, he will enjoy the profits, but his loss will be limited to 2 rupees only. Now, similarly, if I'm buying a put option, okay, put option will give me a right to sell. Say, for example, again, we are buying for XYZ Corporation only. Now, currently the price is at 75 per share, or that is the strike price. And there is an expiry. Now, if I buy it, again, say if I'm buying this put option for say 4 rupees, the maximum loss which I can incur into this option trade is 4 rupees since I am a buyer. But my profit can be at maximum 75 rupees. In put option, why I am telling maximum 75? Because the stock can fall only to 75 and become 0. The stocks cannot go negative. So theoretically, my maximum profit will be 75. Now, let's come to the part which is a little complicated. If there was a buyer, there would be a seller also. Now, what are the obligations and complications a seller has to go through? Now, say for example, if I had bought that call for 2 rupees, okay, for XYZ Corporation, the seller would have got those 2 rupees. Now, again, I'll bring my insurance example. Say that XYZ Corporation call which you have bought is for a medical insurance, and 2 rupees is the premium you have paid. So what would be the maximum benefit the insurance company can get if you put no claims? That is 2 rupees. But what would be the maximum loss that insurance company can bear? That is the amount of claim you were insured for. Say for example, you were insured for 100 rupees of claim. So at an expense of 2 rupees, you can gain 100 rupees. while as the option writer at an income of 2 rupees has to incur a loss of 100 rupees if the option is exercised. Now the catch here is if you exercise that option, say for example, during that period, you did not get any medical illness, you were very healthy, your 2 rupees would be gone and that would be the income for the insurance company. Similarly, during that month, your stock price didn't move, that 2 rupees will be your loss and that 2 rupees only can be the income for the option writer while the loss is unlimited. So if you look at the short call writer graph, which is there on the left hand side, for him, the maximum gain which can be seen is 2 rupees. You can see where my cursor is moving. And then the loss can be unlimited, which shows by this downward sloping trend, downward sloping line. Okay, so I guess Nikhil, this would clarify much of your doubts that, you know, the obligation for an option writer is unlimited. In the equity markets, we tell it unlimited because the stock can rise till any point of time. Yeah, from say 100 rupees, the stock can go to 1000 rupees in that month. There is a possibility. So that much his loss will be unlimited. Now, what is there for a put writer? Similar obligations will be there for a put writer also. His minimum, his maximum gain can only be to the amount of premium which he has got, while as his risk will be unlimited. So both the writer, be it a call writer or a put writer, or say a call seller or a put seller. For seller, we generally in the options market use a term as a writer. So both of them would have an unlimited losses and a limited gain, while as call option buyers will have limited losses and unlimited gains. So again, one brush up before we go further on. In the money, at the money and out of the money options. Now a call will be considered in the money when the exercise price or the strike price is less than the current market price. So we had done this example. My strike price for Reliance was 1900, while as Reliance price currently is 2100. That means my call option is in the money. At the start of the expiry, when I had purchased that option, the Reliance price was 1900 and the exercise or the strike price was also 1900. That means my strike was at the money. Now, if Reliance would have fallen down to 1500, that means my strike price is greater than the current stock price or current market price. That means my strike price is out of the money. Now, this for put, we need to be a little bit more, clear, and you need to be more focused because that is, it's a little bit, contra-intuitive. Now, when my strike price is greater than the current price. Say for example, if I would have bought 1900 put, okay, and the current price would be 1500. If Reliance would have fallen, then my 1900 strike price would have become in the money. That shows that my strike price is greater than the current market price. Again, a way to understand this is when you are buying a put, you want to sell that stock. And when you would be in profit, when you would be able to sell it higher than the current price. So if you can able to sell Reliance at 1900 when you can know market price is 1500, that means you are in profit. That means your strike is in the money. But say in the current scenario, if my strike price was 1900 put and the stock price was 2200, that means that my strike price is less than the current market price and I'm selling at a loss. That means my strike price is out of the money. Now, as I told you that, in the money and out of the money, at the start, in the money would have some profit. Now, how that profit is taken out and when we enter the trade or how the pricing mechanism works is that, option premiums they have two things. First is the intrinsic value and the second is time value. Say for example, at Monday, if you want to buy 1900 strike, when the Reliance price is at 2100, the minimum value for that option for both the buyers and sellers to start at a no profit, no loss should be at least 200 rupees, because the difference currently is 200. 1900 plus 200 will make it 2100, since you are buying an in the money option. Because otherwise, if you would have bought that for say 50 rupees, then you can go and sell the Reliance stock for 2100. That means you got 2100 for that share where you bought for 1950. That means you are making a profit without anything. So that is not possible. The seller would not agree with it. That is the reason he would give a premium of 200 rupees minimum, so that there is no profit and loss when we enter the contract. Now, time value will depend upon the number of days left in the expiry. Now, to understand time value concept, let's again go to our insurance example. Say for example, if you are taking insurance for your son and for yourself, say for someone who is taking an insurance for a person who is at the age of 30 and for insurance for someone who is at the age of 50. Both of them would have some basic premium at least there, which is common for them. So for a particular illnesses, they would have a basic premium. But then as your age becomes more, the premium, that age premium gets added, which is the time value kind of thing. But in option, the time value works a little different. In there, you have to pay a higher premium as the time goes by in medical insurance. Here, as the time passes, the time value keeps on decreasing because the expiry comes near. Okay, so time value is a very important concept to understand for option buyers as well as option writers, because time value works in favor of someone who is, selling the option, because it decreases as the days pass by, and works against the option buyer as his option value will keep on decreasing. Okay. Now, for an in the money option, be it a call or a put, you will always have two components. One, as we understood, was the intrinsic value, and the other would be time value. For at the money and out of the money option, there is no intrinsic value, but there will only be time value. Okay. Now let's understand how time value works. So as I've told you that, time value, it keeps on reducing as, you near the expiry. So again, one more example, which I frequently give to option buyers is that, if you are buying an option, consider it as if you are holding an ice cream in your hand. As more and more you just keep looking at the ice cream and not eating it, it will start melting. And if you keep on just looking at it without doing anything for it, it will eventually melt out, and in the hand you will have nothing but the melted ice cream, which is of no use. So if you are an option buyer and if the trade is not working and you keep holding that option, eventually it will melt down to zero and you will have a 100% capital loss. While as that same thing would be an benefit for the option seller. As the days pass by, his option value will come down. That means it is a profit for him. Okay, so a time decay will always have a negative slope for you. Now, when you are a long call or a long put, how would you manage that position? So managing a long call or a long put, there are three ways to manage this position or close this position. First one would be that you have bought a call or a put and that the premium for that option has increased. So you enter a contra trade into the market and square it off in the market. How you square off your equity trades? Say for example, if you have bought a share for 100 rupees, the price of the share has gone to 110. So you sell those shares in the market and you close your position. Similarly, options can be done at that particular way. The second option is that, you wait till the last day of the expiry. If there are no volumes in that option, you put that option to, you exercise your option, and then the difference between your strike price and the closing price of that underlying stock would be your profit. That is the intrinsic value. Sorry. The third option, which I would say all the option buyers should avoid, is let their options expire worthless and automatically get closed. But generally what we have observed is that, the most frequent way where, option positions are squared off is the third one. So if you want to, be an outlier and make money in the options market, try to reduce that any of your options get closed out by the third option. It either is the first or second. Be it even in loss, and you could close your positions in the market, because that will still protect your capital to a certain extent. Okay. And now let's look how, you can close your short positions also. Now for short positions, there are two ways, which is, first is you can always enter into a contra trade or let your option expire worthless. Now for short, that would be a dream thing that his option expires worthless, because that is the maximum amount of profit he could have garnered from that sell position. Okay. The third alternative, which a sell option right or an option seller or an option writer would not want, is an assignment. Okay. That means that, the buyer would assign his right and he would have to fulfill that obligation. And that would be a very significant loss to the option seller. So for option writer, if he goes into the second alternative, he would earning the highest amount of profit. Now, in looking at these two examples, you can understand why, option writers are more at an advantage, because we as option buyers always let our options expire by the third alternative, which is the maximum benefit for the option writers. That is the reason I'm telling you that if you want to be on an outlier pace, or we want to make money in options, either you be an option writer, take a little, take very huge amount of risk and let your options get expire worthless, or then you be an option buyer, take lesser amount of risk, a known amount of risk, but then don't let your options expire worthless. It is not that, one option is better and the other option is not better, or one is good and one is not good. Both have their risks and rewards accordingly. Now, STT for options. This is one major thing which we need to keep on track, that if we, close our option trades in the market, then the STT is only charged on the premium amount. Say, for example, you have bought an option with a premium of, say, 10 rupees and the strike price was 100. If you sell that option in the market, the STT is calculated only on the 10 rupees, that is the premium of the option. However, if we exercise that option and let it go through the expiry, and in the money option in the expiry, the STT will not be calculated on 10 rupees premium, but the entire value of that option, which would be 100 rupees of strike price plus 10 rupees of premium, and on 110 the STT would be charged, which can be a very huge amount compared to the 10 rupee STT. So if that STT is greater than your profits, don't go for expiries and exercising your options. It is better to square it off in the market with a minimal or a little lesser profit also. This everyone has to be very careful of. The other thing you need to be careful of is that we have seen many options are now cash settled. That means that if you are an option writer, And if an option buyer exercises his right, you need to give the amount of shares depending on the lot size. That is the reason what we see, there are huge fluctuations in those stocks where there has been a lot of exercise by option buyers and the sellers are not able to fulfill that obligation. So if you don't want to get caught into that situation, it is always better to close your option trades before the expiry, even if you are a buyer or a seller. Because for buyer, if you want to exercise it, in the last 1 week, the margins get calculated on not only on the premium, but on the entire value. So the margin requirement suddenly will spurt off or will increase. So purchasing, we have already seen what we do when we purchase a call option. So let's go into the risk and reward for both. This also I have already explained you on the graph. So I'll just quickly go through it. So say for a long call, the loss will be here. Say this is his strike price. When the stock starts to move beyond the strike price, he starts to reduce his losses till the amount of premium. Once his premium is paid back, that will become his break-even point, and then his profit starts. Say for example, if he has bought an 100 strike price call option for a premium of 2, if the stock price goes beyond 102, he'll start making profit. So this 100 will be his strike price, 102 will be his break even, and beyond this, it will be a profit for him. Similarly, for a long put, say if he has bought a long, say he bought a put option of 100 for a premium of 3 rupees. So then 100 will be his strike price, which is over here. Okay. The stock falls below it. Then that will be, the stock falls below it till 97. It will be his break even, and beyond 97, it will be his profit. Now writing. So when you write an equity call or your total risk potential is significant, because your maximum reward can be only the option premium, while as your maximum risk is always unlimited, or we can say theoretically it is unlimited during the time span of the option. So, for a short put or a short call, it is always, you need to be very careful, and you need to be a little bit more aware about all the, nuances of option trading, or all the terminologies and all the risk factor before you enter into option selling. So if you are very new to options, it is always advisable to be on option buying than on option writing. Once you are comfortable and once you know the ins and outs, or you have some hands-on experience, then only go for option selling. So these are the potential graphs. So this is the maximum profit. Now, if the stock starts going up, his profits will go down. And at 102, considering our previous example only for call, where 100 strike was bought at 2. So that means there would be a seller who would have sold 100 strike call option at 2 rupees. So for him, maximum profit is 2 rupees. At 102, it will be his break even. And if the stock price goes beyond 102, he will be facing losses. Similarly, in the previous put example, we had seen that, a put buyer buying an 100 strike price put at 3 rupees, where at 97, beyond 97, at any fall, he would be making profit. So a stock, if it stays above 100, he's making profit. As the stock starts falling till 97, it becomes his break even. And beyond 97, he starts making losses. Now, some strategies or hedging. Now, buying a put can be a very good hedge for for cash traders for their portfolios. So say, for example, if someone is at current juncture where we are hitting all-time highs on daily basis, wants to hedge his portfolio, that if there is a sudden fall, my stock portfolio goes down, but that option trade would give me some amount of money, because I don't want to sell my investments, as those are long-term investments. So you can buy a put. Say, for example, we are at 15,600, and I say that if it goes beyond 15,400 or below 15,400, the correction can be there till 15,000. So that 400 points I want to protect. So you can buy 15,400 puts for that particular month by paying a certain amount of premium. And if the market's correct, that put options will give you some money, which will be offsetted against your portfolio losses. It's a very simple way to hedge your portfolios. Okay. Now, a very simple option strategies which one can utilize. Just give me a second. Yeah. A very simple option strategy which each future trader also can implement is called a bull call spread. It reduces your risk. Even it reduces the risk for, if you are a normal call buyer also, you can initiate this spread, which will reduce your risk further on and make your strategy much more profitable. Or it will give you a longer time to stand in that option trade where, the time decay would not work against you. For a more, a better half of the expiry, the time decay will not work against you because you are having two offsetting positions. Say, for example, 14,500 call, if I'm buying at 50 rupees and simultaneously I'm selling 14,700 call for 20 rupees. So here we see that we are entering into two option positions. So a time decay in 14,500 call where we are buying would work against us, while as a 14,700 call where we are sellers, the time decay will work in favor of us. Okay. Please don't go for the strike prices. These are just illustrative purposes to make things much easier. Many might be thinking that Nifty is currently at 15,500 and this is 14,700. This is just an illustrative example. So here you would be paying 50 rupees for your buy option, while as you would be receiving 20 rupees for your sell option. So your net cost will only be 30 rupees. Yes, the margin requirement will be little higher than the buy call, only buy call, but this will have you a favorable time value or a neutral time decay thing for you. Okay, so the break-even points for this strategy would be beyond 15,530, which is our net premium, which we have paid. Once we regain that, we will start earning profits. Okay, and maximum loss can be only 30 rupees. But the maximum profit, if the if the stock or Nifty goes 14,700, would be 170. Beyond 14,700, this strategy will not be profitable because we have a sell position which will cut off our trades. Now let's see a graph which will give you a better idea for the strategy. So this is the payoff graph. Okay, so here we can see that 30 rupees is maximum of his loss, even if Nifty goes to 14,000, and his maximum profit would be 170, even if the Nifty goes to 15,000. So beyond 14,700, its profits get capped off. But this, fixed profit and fixed risk and fixed reward strategy will always work in your favor, and it would be much more better because you would be able to hold this strategy for a longer period of time. Now, other strategy which can be done on puts also, same way would be as a bear put spread. Okay, so the nuances are same or the strategy is same. Only here is that, you would be buying 14,000, say for example, you would be buying 14,400 put, and you would be selling an strike price which would be lower than that, because your primary view would be that, markets would correct from there. And in both these spreads, to be, double sure that you are entering into a right spread from strike price point of view, your net would be an outflow. You will never receive an inflow. So for example, say if you would have bought 14,200 put, you would need to pay 25 rupees, and you would have sold 14,400, you would receive 50. That means you are receiving more than you are paying. So that means you have entered wrong strike prices. So that is a simple way to check that your strike prices are right for both a bear put spread or a bull call spread. Similarly, if we see, the difference would be the net cost for the strategy, which here is 25 rupees. Okay, so if we go beyond 14,440 down, we would 25 rupees, which is 14,375 would be a break even. And till 14,200, you would be earning profit, which is 175 rupees. Now, this is a similar payoff graph, okay, where 25 rupees is your maximum risk, even if Nifty goes to 15,000. And at the lower end, you would at 14,200, you would be capping your profit. Now, this strategy at current juncture also can be utilized as an hedging strategy, where if you have a lot of futures positions in your portfolio, or you have a very huge cash portfolio, you can buy spreads for the monthly expiries. And for Nifty, you can even get, beyond a month, that is the second month, third month, 6 months, or a year kind of a protection also. So you can buy those spreads where, your net premium would be little lesser than only buying puts, but at a lower end, you will get some protection while buying these spreads. So this is the way which, options give you flexibility to, devise your strategies depending upon the view overall you have constructed in the market. But it is always important to first construct what is your view for the market, and on that you need to devise your strategy. So that is what I am saying, that you need to choose your objective very wisely. So say for example, if you are looking that for one particular stock, you have an objective that that stock might rally for next 1 or 2 months. So if you want to enter a strategy, there are 3 strategies what you can enter. You can enter a plain buy call, you can buy that stock from the market in equity, or even you can enter a bull call spread. Okay, the amount of leverage which you will get in buy call would be more than equity buy equity, and the amount of leverage if you get in bull call spread would be little bit more higher than your plain buy calls. Okay. Now another option, what say if you are having a view for that stock that it is bullish, but I don't want to buy it in equity, but I want a similar kind of a gain through futures, but I want to lower the risk because future looks very risky for me. Then there is another strategy called as covered call. Okay, where you buy the future, then you decide that, that stock, say again, I'll take an example. Say for example, at Reliance at 2100, I feel that, it is a very good stock to buy for next 1 month. My target in Reliance in next month is 2500. Again, let me clear, it is just an illustrative example and not in a view. So what I will do is I'll buy Reliance futures at 2100. Then I'll sell a 2500 call. And I would say that, if Reliance goes or breaks 2000 level, then my view would be that, the stock will not rally and I'll close my position. So I'll keep 2000 as a stop loss. Always when you are entering in a covered call, you need to define these 3 things very clearly. Your stop loss, your target, and your strike price. So why this will be a little bit better than your plain buy future or plain buy in equity is that, say for example, if your trade does not work, generally whenever we try to compare trades, we would always first see the risk side, how the risk is lowered. And compared to lower risk, if we are getting a better reward, then we may, go for it. So if say your stock price comes to 2000 and you need to exit the trade, the option of 2500 which you would have sold would give you some profit. So a plain future would incur a loss of 100 rupees, while as a covered call would incur a loss which would be lesser than 100 rupees. While as on the higher side, the profits will be compromised very marginally because you have a buy future which will give you similar amount of profit as a normal cash buy would give you. Now looking at an graph which will give you a much better idea is that here. Say for example, if I would have bought a share, let's go through this example only. Yeah. So the example over here is, say if I'm buying 14,400 Nifty futures, which is currently trading at 14,600, oh sorry, which I'm expecting it to go at 14,600. Currently it is trading at 14,450 and I'm buying that strike only. And I write a call of 14,600 since my expectation price is 14,600 for 60 rupees. So you receive that 60 rupees as a premium. Now, for example, if I put a stop loss of 14,400 in this trade. So when 14,400 comes, the call which is trading at 60 rupees would be trading at around say 50 rupees. So I get a 10 rupee of profit in that call option and there would be a 50 rupees loss in my futures. So my net loss would be only 40 rupees. Say if my view gets true, it was correct and it reaches 14,600. Then if say it has taken 4 days to reach 14,600. So then 150 rupees would be my profit in the futures. The call which I had written for 60 rupees might go up to 65. So I would incur a 5 rupee loss over there, but still my net profit would be 55 rupees. So on the higher side, I'm losing only 5 rupees, but on the lower end, I would save 10 rupees. So in a logical sense, I'm still at a better position with a lower risk. Okay, but only thing is that since I had a target of 14,600, beyond 14,600 if it goes, I need to book out this strategy and enter into a fresh one. While as if I would have only bought a future, I could have still trailed it. So my profit would get capped at 14,600. I need to exit the strategy at that point, which is a compulsion and which is one, con of this strategy. So this graph now shows you above 14,600, this will not give you profit because you have already sold a call option and you have closed your strategy at 14,600. Now for straddles and strangle, these strategies work very well when there is a range bound market. In the current scenarios, these strategies would not work because we are constantly breaking higher barriers and our falls are also very sharp. These strategies, again, I would put a caveat very first off before going into these strategies. If you are in the option markets for a very long period and you understand the risks of selling options, then only you have to enter into these strategies. Otherwise, please don't, enter into these strategies just, listening or, knowing that, you have learned something new and let's go and try this from Monday. If you're very new to these options or you have only still now done buy options, please don't start selling options or going into these strategies from Monday itself. If you want to try out these strategies, it would always be better you try out on a mock basis, understand the risk reward for next 4 to 5 months, at least with almost around 30 to 40 trades after, actually doing any trades on live basis. So this strategy is very simple and it is that, you sell 2 options simultaneously, one call and one put that can be of same strike prices or different strike prices, which gives you a range for a market to stay in. And these work very well for, the indexes when they are into a consolidation phase. Now, why it works very best, we can see it from the graph. I'll take this first example where 14,500 call and 14,500 put I am selling. I am selling it for 60 and 120 rupees, where your total premium which I get is 180 rupees. So now if you look at this graph from 14,500 till index moves 180 points on the upside or on the downside, I don't have any loss. Beyond that, the losses will be unlimited. Again, I'm telling you, losses will be unlimited because you are an option seller. So when it is a consolidative market, we generally tend to stay in a narrow range. So that will yield a very good profitable result for this strategy. But if we are into a direction market or an corrective market, this strategy will not yield profits. Now someone would say that I don't want to restrict my range in 180 points. I want to even go it beyond it. So then a variation of this strategy would be to choose two different strike prices. Say for example, I choose 14,800 call and 14,200 put, where a combined premium of 60 rupees is what I garner in. So then if the markets stay between 14,200 to 14,800, assuming that we would be somewhere around 14,400, 14,500, or to be exact, let's take a midpoint of 14,450. So you are 300, 350 points on the higher side, 300, 350 points on the lower side. Until that is not breached, you would be making some profit. So then you have a 350, 400 points range from higher end to lower end on both the sides. Almost a 600, 650 points of range if Nifty trades in a particular week or month. This is for monthly, you would be getting 60 rupees as a premium. So this works really well when we have a range bound session or a range bound month or a range bound week or a range bound phase for the markets. Now some trading rules which I need to get. After this trading rule, we would open the floor for Q&A. We will keep the Q&A a little bit short and crisp. I'll be sharing you the coordinates also if you want to understand any points of the presentation on a deeper point of view. You can give me a call also. I'll share my coordinates also with you. Okay. So first thing, if you are a trader, keep your 2 days high and low as a stop loss for your buy and sell position. This has to be followed mandatorily, because if we break 2 days of high and low, then you will always see the stock going in that direction. Avoid stocks where there is some announcement or some results or something, because predicting a move after results is very, very difficult. On a good result also, you can see a stock correcting 5-10%, or on a bad result also a stock can move 5-10%. Okay. And if you are taking any positions for intraday or even for a positional, please avoid first half an hour of the opening market, or at least first 15-20 minutes, because there are a lot of trade settlements which happens, a lot of BTST kind of a trades getting squared off. So that might be there, some news have come in, those adjustments would be happening, people would be understanding things. So there might be too much of volatility which can hit your stop losses. Okay. And always try to be with the trend, and never, if you are a trader, never go do a contra trend trade. Always try to be with the trend. If it's a bullish trend, and if you are seeing some stocks which are correcting or seeing a bullish trend, bearish trend, when the trend starts and when you see volumes, then only enter into those stocks. Otherwise, there are chances, you might, in a contra trend, there are higher chances of you losing money. Keep trailing stop losses for winning trade. You keep on booking your profits very regularly. If you are a trader, never ever make your trades as a long-term trade on both losing as well as winning side. If the stock is going up, someone would have told you, no, it will go up. You are a trader. A trader has to, take 4 or 5% at max as his profit, and he cannot wait for 15, 20, 25%. If you are doing for a 15, 20, 25%, buy it as a delivery so that your risk will also get lower. Your risk reward should always be in 2:1 ratio. If you are taking a particular stop loss, then your target should be at least 2 times of that stop loss, or whatever your target is keeping, you should keep 50% as your stop loss. Never add losing trades. If the trade is losing and if you feel no, the stock is good and you need to average, let the fall get complete, the trend get reversed, and then average it. Otherwise, then you would be averaging lower and lower and lower, and it would be, and you at the time when the trend reverses and you need to actually put in some money, you would be out of money. As I have told you, never hold an option buy position for too long. It's a melting ice cream. It will only erode your capital. And never ever trade junk stocks. Stocks which are fundamentally good, even traders always try to focus on Nifty 200 or Nifty 500. In this current scenario, we have been seeing, many stocks which are not anywhere in there in fundamentals. You are seeing a rally into that. I have seen MTNL also rallying. I have seen Jet Airways also rallying, where stocks have no businesses going on, nothing is there, but still they are rallying. Please don't enter into those stocks, because at the end of the day you will be holding them without any return. When there was an oxygen shortage, I recollect there was one stock, Bharat Oxygen, if I'm not wrong. In a very short time it saw a huge surge, and now on daily basis it is seeing a reverse circuit after people realize that it is an NBFC company with no business, just the name is Bharat Oxygen, where people marketed this as an oxygen based company, which it was earlier, which it closed its businesses. So never enter into all these kind of stories. In these bull market you will get a lot of such kind of stories that it would be a multi-bagger. Right now it doesn't have a business, it is a turnaround. If the fundamentals are good, when it turns around, you will get plenty of time to enter into those stocks. And at that particular time, enter those stocks when it becomes fundamentally a strong company.